Another UN Security Council meeting has been called after yet another display of Russian insolence. This time, the ambassadors gathered at the request of Estonia, which requested an urgent meeting after Russian fighter jets violated its airspace. The planes crossed the national borders and remained in Estonian airspace for 12 minutes without responding to commands from Italian pilots patrolling the skies over the Baltic states. According to experts, such incidents will become more frequent as Russia increasingly aggressively tests NATO response systems. Never before have the Russians carried out such an overt and dangerous provocation over the Baltic states. On Friday, 3 MiG jets flew into Estonian airspace, prompting an immediate response from NATO aircraft on combat duty in the area. However, this was not a temporary and accidental entry, but a prolonged flight with aerial skirmishes.
NATO air policing was doing a good job. And also they were signaling to the Russian pilots that they should change their course. And so far there was no reaction from the Russian pilots. So we can say that at least some of the flight path was intentional, and they must have known that they were in Estonian airspace.
Both NATO and the European Union condemned the Kremlin's actions, pointing to a significant escalation that could potentially lead to a direct military confrontation between NATO and Russia. Everyone can now see Russia's intrusions against Poland and against Estonia. These are not random events. Russia will continue to try to spread its aggression, destabilization, and interference. That is their system. We must counteract this systemically and jointly. Estonia has invoked Article 4 of NATO, and the Council is to discuss a possible response to Moscow's actions.
Putin only understands the language of strength. And also, if we're talking about Russian aggression against Ukraine, so we need to increase the military support to Ukraine. We need to increase the pressure to Putin using more sanctions, more tariffs. Also, we need to decide finally to start using the Russian frozen assets.
At Estonia's request, the UN Security Council was convened at the diplomatic forum. As was the case a few days ago, the Russians have denied any wrongdoing despite concrete evidence.
And as we said 9 days ago, the United States stands by our NATO allies in the face of these airspace violations, and I want to take this first opportunity to repeat and to emphasize the United States and our allies will defend every inch of NATO territory. Russia must urgently stop such dangerous behavior.
Russian propaganda to discredit the countries on NATO's eastern flank has also pounced on the recent embarrassment of Polish Deputy Foreign Minister Marcin Bosacki, who, during the previous Security Council meeting convened at Poland's request, showed photos of a damaged building in Wyriki as evidence of a Russian drone attack. As revealed later by the media, the house was destroyed not by a Russian drone, but by a missile fired from a Polish fighter jet as a result of a malfunction.
I have only one request to the Russian government. If another missile or aircraft enters our space without permission, deliberately or by mistake, and gets shot down and the wreckage falls on NATO territory, please don't come here to whine about it. You have been warned.
However, commentators remind him of his blunder in thanking the United States after the Nord Stream gas pipeline was blown up. The Kremlin then accused the West, including Washington, of sabotage, reserving the right to respond in kind. As an investigation by German authorities showed, Ukrainian services were responsible for the operation in the Baltic Sea, and the Americans themselves allegedly weren't even aware of the plans to blow up the gas pipeline.